in case it wasn't obvious, major spoilers for Undertale and Deltarune. This assumes that you know what happens in a true pacifist run and in Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2, yada yada. The Angel is a mythological being in the universe of Undertale talked about by Gerson, who's prophesied to come to the underground and break the barriers, setting the monsters free to go back up to the surface. Now, this most likely has implications for Deltarune because the Angel is also mentioned, although with different lore, by Relsei. Both the characters, I think, might be the Angel or already plot prominent in Deltarune, plus Gerson mentions the Angel while explaining the deltarune, not the game, as in the deltarune is in the in-universe symbols seen all over the buildings, this one. The heart and wings represent the Angel. The first place my mind went with this information is that we're the Angel, we as in the player, not Frisk or whatever. After all, you're considered to have beat Undertale and see the true credits after the true pacifist run, where you settle the monsters free from the underground. The game even actively pushes you in that direction. Plus, Gerson mentions that some people who are more cynical about the legend believe that the Angel will simply come and put them all out of their misery by killing them. And what's the most well-known ending of Undertale? That's right, it's the genocide run, in which we, the player, kill everybody. This also explains who we, the player, are and why we exist in the universe of the game. After all, we are a supernatural being capable of bending the timeline to our will. One would expect there to be a very specific reason for such a thing to exist, and yet no reference as to why we exist is made in-game. So, how does this apply to Deltarune? Well, at the end of the titular legend of Deltarune at the beginning of the game, at the very end of it, it mentions the heroes banishing the Angel's heaven by sealing dark fountains, and again, the symbol of the Deltarune is present in Deltarune. But here we run into some of the issues, i.e. the legend says that the heroes would banish the Angel's heaven by sealing the dark fountains, implying that the darkness comes from the Angel's heaven, which is incongruent with the theory that we are the Angels, since the dark fountain sealing cutscene quite clearly shows us, not Chris, sealing the dark fountains, unless maybe this is some kind of Chris Copian theory. But even then, the bit has nothing to do with the legend from Undertale, and that's if that's even real in the first place. But later I was thinking about this and I was hypothesizing that maybe actually Asriel's the Angel, and there's a lot of similar evidence, and I think stronger evidence than us, the player, being the Angel. For one, after becoming Flowey, he becomes a supernatural being which is capable of fucking around the timeline, much like the player. Plus, he actually does break the barrier himself with his own two hands, for lack of a better term. In addition to that, there is also established to be alternate timelines where he goes about killing everyone. This could also explain why people think the Angel's gonna kill everyone, because basically it's established in-game that normal monsters, well, they can't remember what happened before the timeline was reset. They still have some vague memory of it. Plus, during the final part of the Hopes and Dreams fight, Asriel has these big angelic-looking wings. Plus, his name, Asriel, also sounds a lot like Angel. They both start with an A, then two consonants, then more vowelage, and then they end with an L. Asriel, Angel. I think the Asriel hypothesis is a lot stronger than the player hypothesis for the simple reason that Asriel actually destroys the barrier with his own two hands, whereas the player can only claim that, oh, they manipulated the situation for that to happen. But I'd argue no, that actually Asriel's the one manipulating the situation. After all, I mentioned earlier that the player's pushed to do a pacifist run. What I meant by that is, if you insistently spare Flowey after the neutral run, after the Omega Flowey fight, then he'll basically tell you to do the true pacifist run, and then, and so he sets that up to happen, and he also manipulates other characters to make everything fall into place for him to break the barrier, albeit he doesn't instantly destroy the barrier, instead the whole Hopes and Dreams fight happens, which would make very little sense if he was intending to destroy the barrier the whole time, unless maybe he was having a mental breakdown, and that's what caused the Hopes and Dreams fight, but that's doubtful. So yeah. If Asriel is the angel, and that could play out into the plot in quite a lot of interesting ways, as at the start of the game, Toriel says Asriel will be coming back soon, like at the end of the week, which could mean in Chapter 7, at the end of the coming week, or at the end of Chapter 4, at the end of the calendar week, or at the start of Chapter 3, at the end of the school week. Either way, if Asriel was the angel, then this would make quite a few plot complications. Mainly seeing as the angel is a pretty definitively bad force in Deltarune, and I can't see Asriel being shown as a malevolent force in Deltarune, unless, again, we're dealing with a Coruscopium theory, or if the Ralsei is a liar theory is true, at which point the angel would have no relevance whatsoever, because it's just something Asriel said in part of a lie, or maybe Asriel unintentionally having a bad effect, but like not being a bad person at heart, but I don't know. Yeah, this hypothesis is also kind of bunk when you apply it to... Okay, so now for a conclusion. Okay, so both of these hypotheses, at least when applied to Undertale, seem pretty strong, but in both cases, when moving it over to Deltarune, it becomes a complete and utter mess, and at this point I gotta admit that, yeah, I don't think it applies to Deltarune. The Angel's Heaven might have no angel in it. It might be the case that the word angel is used twice because they both sound kind of holy, you know? It might also be that maybe they both stories of common mythological origin and evolve differently in the different timelines. And who knows if there's even an angel in Undertale. Like, I'm technically doing a post hoc fallacy. Garrison said, oh, the angel will come in freedom from the underground, then these characters can kind of claim to be freeing the monsters from the underground, so I'm saying, oh, look, they're the angel. IDK. I think it's an interesting thing to apply as different readings of Undertale, but for Deltarune, it clearly has no presence. It clearly just, the theory don't work when applied to Deltarune. Sometimes you gotta admit they are separate universes, For the longest time, there was planned to be no connection between them, no Undertale characters in Deltarune. They were only added in later, like at one point, the light world is literally gonna have only humans in it, and then you'd have monsters in the dark world. That was the plan for that, as mentioned in the live stream that revealed Deltarune Chapter 2, Toby Fox stated it during the stream. So, yeah. This video is probably wrong. Like it if you enjoyed the video, it helps push my videos in the algorithm, and doesn't cost you anything, and subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, so that was a video. The production of it went pretty smoothly. I had the idea a bit over a week ago while I was going to sleep, and then I suddenly woke up and yelled at my friend, and I wrote it down later. I scripted this video more than usual. I voiced it out. Nothing went too wrong. Admittedly, for some reason, when I played for the Hopes and Dreams fight for the first time, I didn't save a lot of footage, so I couldn't go back and use that here right now for this, which was really annoying. It's like, because I'm not about to go and replay through the pacifist run of Undertale just to get footage for this one video that I'm pumping out in a week. I'm not doing all that in a week. And also, but like there were some gifts I found that were like, oh yeah, this could serve as the thing, for instance, like with the barrier being broken, or of the Asriel, of like the final bit of the Asriel Dreamer fight, but unfortunately when I put a GIF into iMovie, it just takes the first image of it and treats it like a photo, as opposed to playing the GIF within the thing, so that didn't work out, which, honest to God, it kind of sucked. Because the bit where I show about Asriel breaking the barrier would have looked so much better, like with the actual game footage, opposed to just like what I did is I ended up taking the GIF and then taking photos of the GIF, But other than that, I'm pretty happy with this video. Although I am kind of worried that I'll end up having a brilliant idea for an addition right after that, like some explanation like, oh, this character's the angel Undertale, and oh look, that works in Deltarune. I'm kind of scared that might happen after I upload this, honest to God, but well, there's not much I can do about that, eh?